I'm often trying to figure out what the best ideal way of living is. And in many ways, I've had great success. You know, I live in a forest. I live off the grid. I consume very little. I live in accordance with my values. Well, that's not totally true. It depends on how you look at it. Today, I'm gonna go on a walk, and I guess this channel is new, so you don't know who I am, which is something I kind of like. So we'll get to know each other in this video. I try and get up early. I'm late today. There's the sun, and I should be up, ready to go hiking for 2 hours every morning. It's just my opinion. I have reasons to exercise my legs, so what time is it now? Let's see. I've got my phone with me, which is cool, but I'd rather have a watch. I can't believe people don't use watches anymore. Like, the reason I don't have a watch is because my watch band keeps breaking, and the ones that they sell around where I live all suck. They're plastic pieces of crap that break. They'll break in 3 weeks. You know, I have a hard life in some ways. I mean, it's physically... Anyway, it's 7:43. Current sunrise times is 7 o'clock in the morning, and it gets light slightly before that. Civil twilight, right? So that's when it gets light enough to walk around. And that's actually the time when you should get out and start doing stuff in the morning, especially because this sun is going to get up in the air. There's not a cloud in sight. Is that true? Oh, there's a cloud over there. Little tiny clouds. Okay, basically it's clear skies. And the problem is the sun is so strong and beats down on you that it's uncomfortable and you're sweating and all that. So, in an ideal world, in this environment, and this is true for anybody visiting me as well, get the fuck out of bed and start your day. Live in the light. So move. And it could be that you do physical work. Best time to do physical work is like right now I'm cold. Like, it's cold out. But it's going to heat up really quick. And so the best time to do physical work is really early in the morning, this time of the year. Right? And I've got an annual schedule of like how lifestyle should change based on the seasons. You know? And so in this case, I'll be walking for like 2 hours. We'll find out. What did I say? 7:43? I got to remember that. Well, we'll see. And it's called a farmer's blow, by the way, where you just squeeze your nostrils together and blow your snot out, your morning snot. And I found that really disgusting the first time my dad did it. I thought that was really gross, but it's very convenient, and you don't need anything to do it. And yeah, and I actually have kind of a snotty nose. I'm a snot-nosed person. And I think that's because my turbides are overactive, and I can't believe I'm this old and figuring this out just now. But I was reading online, and there's something in your nose that produces mucus. Sorry, this is gross, isn't it? Oh well, bummer. You can always turn it off. And so it's a really easy surgery to get those turbides kind of burned or cut off partly or something inside there. And so I want to get that done, because all my life I've had allergies and just my nose has always been a problem. Even like to the extent where, I can take drugs and it won't even stop it. I have a chlorotrimeton or something, and lordatrina, I think is the other one. And I can take both those and still have a snotty nose. And that means that if I was going to give a speech or something, if I was scheduled to do something or do an acting job, that would actually be a blocking issue. And so once I get some money together again, because I'm currently experiencing total extreme poverty, but then I'll get that done, and it won't even cost very much. Although I'll probably go to a nicer place for that, a nicer medical place, because I don't want to fuck it up. And but I think it's easy. It shouldn't be that expensive. So, and I don't have insurance. I'm against insurance. So I well, I'll pay cash for it, but luckily I can get it done quite cheaply. And I'll travel to wherever I have to do that. And it's what amazes me is I'm so dumb. I know I'm not supposed to say that to myself, but oh, whatever. It is dumb that I haven't ever taken care of that, because I didn't realize the problem until I finally looked it up and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. Maybe that won't solve it. Maybe that's not even the problem. But it seems like if there's something overproducing mucus, I want to get rid of half of it or 70% of it, something like that. So I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so we're going for this walk. The reason for me to go on long walks is because my legs are weak, and it's because I broke them. I broke both my femurs in 2 places each, which is fairly annoying. And so I walk I still have a limp, and I walk just kind of funny. Now I've realized I am strong now, because I've been doing 2-hour hikes for a while, and I can walk real fast, or almost as fast as I used to. I used to be a super fast walker. Now I'm a moderately fast walker. But that was an extreme thing. That happened 4.5 years ago or so. Actually, I'm coming up on almost 5. And the problem is that I had a brief little bit of physical therapy for a while, but it was barely any, and it wasn't enough. And so even though I've got strength back, I don't have flexibility. And so that's the next real goal is, I should be doing yoga or just anything, that moves my body around. One of the reasons that my healing has been so slow, I'm healed. That's not a problem. One of the reasons that achieving full functionality has been so slow is because, I've been so isolated, and I sit at my computer for many, many hours a day, which is useful. The things I do there are useful for my spreading my ideas and developing my ideas, creating things, but it doesn't give me flexibility. It's been bad for my legs, and I got like 10 pounds at least I'd like to lose. I have an ideal weight and I'm over it. So and I don't eat that great, but I don't eat crap, but I don't eat anything good either. So it's tough situation. Today's walk that I'm inviting you to hang out with me on is to get to know each other for this channel, and it is a walk to a small town, my favorite small town. I'm going to walk on the railroad tracks and then loop back up to my property. In general, I don't know why this is, and maybe you feel the same, I like to walk in a circle. I don't like to walk to a thing and then walk straight back. That seems less fun to me. And in general, my walks aren't really that fun. They're kind of boring. But I do actually now listen to audiobooks, which has been really great, because essentially the book is keeping me company. And right now, you inside the video camera there, who the hell are you in there? How do you fit inside that small camera? That is weird. And there's a bunch of you. Very strange. So I also use this time to sometimes make long rambling videos, like this one will probably be, even though my actual objective with videos is to make more crystalline, organized things about very specific topics. I have a long list of topics I have thoughts about, and a lot of them are weird. I have innovative ideas. I have things I could crowdfund, which might be a way to survive. I have videos I want to make if I want to try and get an online job, perhaps doing the kind of stuff that I did before. But now I have at least 2 areas in the industry that I was in where I have extremely interesting ideas that no one's ever had, or that I know of, and certainly no one's doing, that I think would be compelling and powerful. I've got actually quite a few ideas that are interesting, but 2 of them I could fit in with having a job. I could work for a company developing a set of tools that would allow this really cool thing to happen, which I know is going to happen. I mean, I can see the future. I've been, seeing the future since I was 18. Not in any mystical, weird way, but just if you know what exists and you know its trajectory, then you can predict what will occur. And in my case, I'm talking about very complex systems. So as technology is rapidly developing and doing weird-ass shit that's been predicted by some for a while, but boy, things are getting weird out there. So this all means opportunity, right? And I'm a strange enough guy that I have the skill set and the motivation to do certain things and facilitate the creation of tools that, I'm being vague because I don't want to say what the ideas are. I don't even want to say what the industry is, but anybody who knows me knows that. But all right, we're leaving the forest. Dun 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 dun. We're going out into the country. I was going to make and still need to make a video which is just a list of all the topics I want to discuss, and I guess I can touch on some of those on this. I mean, I don't know. I ended up making these rambling videos. I could apologize for that, but I also just don't give a fuck. Also, eventually AI is going to come in, take all my videos, it can transcribe them, know what I'm talking about, and organize them. So every thought I've had on a particular topic will automatically generate a video about that stuff, of everything I've said about it. It'll even order it and make it coherent, perhaps, because I've also written a lot. And so the writings together with the videos, they'll supplement each other. And so you currently are suffering if you have to watch this. Well, you don't have to watch this. I mean, I don't think anyone has a gun to your head on that. But this will exist. The self-organizing of videos and the creation of more watchable things by topic. Because I have thousands of videos on my other channels. And then I have hidden videos, and I have the writings I've done, and all of this shit can get organized because in many cases I can't even find stuff I've created. I have too much stuff, especially in rambling videos that I don't ever want to watch. I mean, they're too long and disorganized, but anyway, so this is going to be an interesting walk. No, it won't be. I'm going the same path I've gone before. It's going to be a boring walk. But I've got my audiobooks. And what is it I need to tell you if you're new to me? I'm old now. I have gray. I don't mind that. That's fine. The breaking of my legs thing was like an early vision of what it's going to be like to be older and physically more disabled. But it also makes me understand the extreme importance of physical activity as we age. And so I think about stuff that if you're 22, you don't need to think about right now that much. Although you are creating habits now for the rest of your life. And every decision you make is crafting that sculpture that becomes your life. Now, overall, I'm pretty happy with what I've done. I've had a really bizarre life, and I've sought out extreme situations. Like I went to war as a photojournalist in a country that was having a civil war when I was 19, and I was freelance, and I sold photos to Reuters news service, and they let me use their darkroom and stuff. This was back when we were using film, and so photography was more costly, and certainly being in a war zone, in a language I didn't speak, although I was working on it, but not well, was really eye-opening. And that's just one of many adventures that I've had where I've sought out difficult situations. I've specifically taken the hard path And I'll never really understand the people who choose the easy path, because the easy path will kill you. It will kill you by making a lame person out of you. I don't mind using the word lame now, because I figure I almost have rights to use it. Some people think that's like bad to say, use that word that way, because it's some kind of insult to people who have walking problems. Fuck that shit. That's just oversensitive crap. It's lame. To have a problem with a word like lame is lame. And, or if you say someone is blind to something, does that insult blind people? If you call someone dumb, does that insult people who can't speak? No, it doesn't. Everybody knows what you're talking about, and they know you're not talking about people who can't speak. And there's absolutely no malice in it whatsoever. And, and nobody's like in favor of not being able to speak or something. We know that's not a good thing to have. It doesn't mean the people who can't speak are bad, right? If you say something is lame, it doesn't mean you think that people who can't walk are actually lame. Yes, they're technically lame. It is the same word, but the intention and use of it, the context of it, is so radically different. And we know that it's not good to not be able to walk, okay? But that doesn't mean there's a judgment against the people who can't. So that's just bullshit. Certainly in the case of lame, I can justify it on a personal level, because I was pretty fucking lame after I broke my legs. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, I broke them by falling off of a roof. And no, I wasn't drunk. I would have been drunk later, but I wasn't drunk when I fell off the roof. I just leaned over too far because I was videoing a party, and it was a really fun party. And then I leaned out too far, and there's a detail I'm going to omit. And I leaned out too far to get a better angle, and the next thing I knew, I was laying on the ground. I don't remember actually falling. But I was just laying on the ground, and my legs were crumpled up in a kind of like not good looking way, clearly fucked up. And luckily an ambulance got there in, I don't know, half hour or so. I'm not sure. My sense of time at that point, I mean, I was in shock, certainly. Breaking, your femurs are like your biggest bones in your body, right? And so breaking them is fairly serious, and breaking them in two spots, each femur, is more serious than just one break. So I didn't die. I could have died. And that's another reason why I've been interested in creating more content and getting my ideas out there, is because, I've always had a good sense of my own mortality, and I know I'm going to die. I have a good relationship with death, I think. It doesn't bother me very much. Certainly not mine. It bothers me sometimes when other people die. They shouldn't do that before I do. But, so don't die. But this, I could have fallen on my spine or my head, and then I wouldn't have any more problems. I'd be gone. And I would be that guy that people remember. Well, I'm not fucking done yet. I have things in this world that frustrate me, that piss me off. I have real anger about it, and anger is not bad. I don't want to just, spiritual dumbass positivity, toxic positivity, I think is what they call it now. Although I hesitate to just toss the word toxic on every fucking thing. It's not a very good insult for a thing, but that's, in this case, I actually don't mind the term toxic positivity, because it makes sense. I know what they mean by it. It's this fake bullshit positivity people have, and they have a fake face. They're lying. They're either lying to control you, or because they're ashamed of who they are and how they feel, or, and maybe they're smart, because, these really positive people are very attractive and successful, though some of them are lying, and they're trying to control you. They're trying to present this happy face so they can manipulate you. And I find that disgusting. I'm really not in favor of that at all. So yeah, I guess you're getting to know me in any case. I'm a freak. I'm a total freak. I'm not a freak because I'm decided to be. I was probably genetically a freak from the very beginning. Biochemically, I'm a freak. And then culturally, my strange life, from all my upbringing, everything, just all of it. Even before I remember anything, my life was weird. And then that added to me specifically going out and doing things that fucked my mind over. And what's amazing to me is that, like, I took a lot of risks, right? Like, going to war is one of them, but I took a lot of other risks. And I've done a lot of things many people would say, don't do that. But I then go do that, you know? And I've surprisingly not been very punished by reality for that. I've surprisingly gotten away with it, which has been great. And then I just do something dumb and fall off a roof. And that's the biggest fucked up thing that's ever happened in my whole life. But even that extreme experience, as difficult as it has been, especially being as isolated as I am, and I mean, I've had a lot of help. There was a crowdfunding effort that helped me, and I thank all those people, thank you so much, that rapidly raised enough money for me to pay for surgery in a cheap country where medicine is cheaper. And then you know, I was in a bed basically for 8 months, and then a really nice lady came down, and actually she lived at my place for a year. And you know, I didn't need a lot of care. She would make me food twice a day, and she's really good at cooking healthy, good food, simple, good food. I don't need fancy shit at all. In fact, I am philosophically opposed to eating fancy food. Got these rocks down here. I'm wearing my boots that are falling apart because I bought cheap boots, but oh well. I got to get some better footwear, so I should have a sponsor of a footwear brand. Often I wear Tevez or Chacos, which are awesome, but I don't feel like it today. And I do tend to, because of the places I walk are often rocky or difficult, I often end up with bloody toes. Not super often. I mean, I'm not a total clumsy person or anything like that, but you know, if you're walking like in trails with sticks and everything and rocks, and you know, sticks are gonna poke you, and you know, then that's sort of annoying. But I do need a good pair of boots, and I know of a place that makes boots that are pretty good, and I should actually, as I figure out how to survive, I mean, part of the value I can potentially offer is the analysis of what products actually are any good, because I'm against most consumption, right? But I can't actually make good footwear currently, and I don't know that I want to try that. That's not my first target. I've got a lot of targets of things where I want to remove products from my life, but at this point I've removed most everything. You know, I've got a video camera, I've got a computer, got an internet connection. It's awesome. It's Starlink, which is great. Oh, there's a baby cow. That's a baby cow. Really tiny baby cow. That's so cute. Frolic, run around, amuse me. Your job is to amuse me. No, it's not. But I do like it when baby animals jump around and have fun. I think, you know, youth is just inherently cuter by definition, which means I'm getting less cute every year. But hopefully I'm getting more amusing, and hopefully I can turn some of my anger and frustration in the world into words that actually inspire other people to well, fix themselves in the world. I mean, I just see all of reality as a puzzle, really. So you know, if you're watching me on this channel, then you're going to join me in that process. And I still have not decided on what I'm going to do with comments yet. I think I might make it so that all comments have to be approved. That's not as good for SEO, for search engine optimization, because, you know, I should just accept any comment of any kind. But, you know, I don't want to hang out with people who are assholes. Why would I want them commenting on my videos? Even if that is of benefit to me, you know, in getting views and stuff. I don't really care, you know. And I'll seek out the people that I think are interesting, and I'll point my channel out to them, and if they want to engage with it, they will. And I hope that they write actually useful, smart things. Any ideas I have, you're welcome to write in the comments about your thoughts on those, and you don't have to agree with me at all. But you have to be nice, and you can't spam in the comments and do other dumbass shit. Like, I wouldn't put up with that kind of activity in my personal life in person with someone, and I'm not going to do it in the virtual world either. I would like to cut those motherfucking dumb fucks who destroy the internet out. And they can all talk to each other, but I'm only going to be in forums, I think, in ways that I don't give the trolls and assholes a forum in any way. All right, well, I'm getting closer to town now, so I think I just heard a sheep over there. So I'm gonna turn this off and buy some supplies for my walk. So the audio book I'm currently listening to is The Biology of Human Behavior at its Best and Worst. Wait, no, it's called Behave. The Biology of Human, watching this scroll by, at our best and worst, by Robert M. Sapolsky. Sounds Polish or something. Anyway, good book. And so I just put this, running in my pocket, and it keeps me company. I don't listen to I don't listen to fiction. I prefer non-fiction because I want to learn stuff. I should probably load some fiction up just for fun, but I find that for me, I'm interested in the ideas, and there is a lot of really good fiction with ideas in it, but I just want the ideas. So, for example, the author Daniel Quinn wrote Ishmael, about a guy talking to an ape or something, and the story of B, and some other books. But the book I actually like the most of his is Beyond Civilization by Daniel Quinn, Beyond Civilization, because it just takes the books he's talking about, it takes the ideas he's talking about in the books, and it just presents them. And it's not even a long book, and so I'd rather just read that. In fact, maybe I should get an audiobook of that, but I've already read it, but it might be nice to listen to it again, because it talks about circuses as a social entity, a business family enterprise, and I love the family circus concept. Not the cartoon, but the idea of families running businesses, I think, is super healthy. I'm very much in favor of small business, and think that in an economy or society it should be very easy. See all these like rocks in the road? It's just all easy to trip on, especially if you're talking to somebody on camera like this. But anyway, so what I listen to is nonfiction for that reason. Yeah, almost out of town here. It's all like fields and stuff. Some of these are nice pieces of property I wouldn't mind buying if I had the resources, especially as I figure out how land can be developed to have maximum biological output, like food forest farming. I'm really into that. I think that's the salvation of the world, and monoculture and fossil fuel based agriculture are terrible and will collapse. It's an unsustainable way of doing agriculture. We live for thousands and thousands of years in many different cultures and societies doing food forest farming, and it worked extremely well. So now there's some noisy dogs up here. I really don't like barking dogs. I'm walking right now with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my dogs. 5 dogs. That's a lot of dogs. And then I've got another dog that sometimes is around that isn't really my dog, but I feed it, and it came to my house and it was really skinny, and so I did feed it, but it won't even let me pet it, which means I can't control it and I can't get it sterilized, although at least that dog won't be having babies. It's a male dog, and it's a nice enough dog. I don't mind the dog, but dogs need care. Recently it got into a dog fight in town, and I heard about it. I didn't see the fight, and it got its eye ripped pretty badly, and I can't do anything about it. I can't help this dog. So if it gets sick or something, it's on its own. I'm tempted to just shoot it because it's annoying, kind of, but it isn't annoying enough to get the death penalty, you know. And I, you know, not really, I would not want to do that. It would make me sad. But I also don't like having like this dog that is so independent that I can't even care for it. If it was female, it would be a bigger problem because then it would have puppies. And so all my dogs are sterilized. I'm sterilized. I have a vasectomy. I got it when I was 27 years old, and I'm a big proponent of that. You know, get snipped if you can, because you don't want to have a child against your will, and then you control the birth control. So that benefits women, it benefits men, it benefits the children who are never born that weren't wanted, because I don't want to accidentally have a kid. And unfortunately, there are also some women out there who want to get pregnant and will look for men with resources and are wanting to be impregnated by them so that then they have a financial support system for their own life and for their kid. And I don't want to do any of that. So I've skipped on all that. I've never had a kid. I never will have a kid unless I get in a relationship with somebody who already has one, which could be just fine. But that would then be a conscious decision where I would be having a kid, but it would be somebody else's kid. But I would have a kid in my life, which I wouldn't mind. I mean, I was adopted, and when I was 4, and by a really nice guy, actually, despite some philosophical differences. We have now arrived. We are here at the railroad tracks. They go that way, and they go that way. One nice thing about this walk is it's all flat down here, and then I have to go up to get back home. But whatever, I don't care. And over here is a cross of somebody who died there, and I'm going to pass another cross over there. So, you know, anytime you're on railroad tracks, you got to watch yourself a little bit and make sure you don't get run over by a train, because it does happen. I think one of the beatnik guys, one of the famous, I think, was it Kerouac? Did he die like in Mexico on a train track? It was one of those beatnik guys. I don't remember. And it is a little difficult because like this bridge has big holes in it, so you do have to pay attention, not get injured. But on the topic of trains, the weird thing about this particular stretch of train track is that it isn't used hardly at all. Like I hear trains at 3 in the morning from a long distance. I can feel the vibration of it, right? I can't really feel the vibration, I don't think. I can know it's there. There's this kind of rumble in the distance that if you didn't know it was a train, you wouldn't be able to identify that sound that easily. But I can ID it because I can. But so this makes a great walk because there's like almost no chance of a train coming and hitting me. And I have bad hearing, right? I use chainsaws and guns and stuff like that without ear protection, which is really dumb, by the way. Don't do that. But still, I should be conscious. But I mean, you can tell because there's like plants in here that the train doesn't totally kill because it isn't like many trains a day. And I actually have a, you know, kind of an emotional, or what's it called, like a reminiscent positive feelings about trains because I played around trains a lot when I was a kid. We lived closer to the train tracks when I grew up in a small town America, you know. And those trains came a lot, like a bunch. And so we would actually go to the train tracks and play on them. And that was probably more dangerous. But whatever. This makes a nice walk. And it's a circle. So look at these. Some of these railroad ties are rotted here. They've been replacing them slowly with concrete ones. It's probably wise. There is a trail next to this train track, but it has rocks on it too. And so, in some ways, even though it's uneven, the train tracks, in some ways it's more predictable than a trail is, especially since there isn't a trail. I mean, it comes and goes, right? It's in parts of the trail, the railroad track. So, I might as well just get used to this. And I haven't fallen down on it yet. After the accident, for a long time, I was weak, you know, like I was afraid I would slip and fall in the shower. One of many reasons I don't like showers. I got to get a hot tub or something. But I used to have a hot tub and it was awesome. It's like the best thing. But really, what I'm going to do instead is design and build a solar sauna, a fully solar sauna, not photovoltaic. It would use evacuated tube solar hot water heaters, and that's anything based on evacuated tubes is just really great. It's great for cooking. Like GoSun is one of the dominant brands, but there are other brands as well, and they're really simple designs. And one friend that visited me brought, I think, a total of 4. And one of them was a big, huge Chinese one that had a beautiful pattern on it. And you could cook enough food in that for 4 people easily. And we did use it. And then she also had a tiny one that, like, if you were car traveling, you could just, if you were camping or something, you could just pop on top of your vehicle and cook your food with no fuel, no energy. That is astounding. And it's because the evacuated tube part means it has a vacuum in it, so that the radiation from the sun hits the black part on the inside, and then no heat, zero, can pass through a vacuum, and there's a glass tube around the black one. So all this solar radiation is heating up the black tube, and none of the heat can escape. So it doesn't even matter if it's cold or not. It's going to heat up and be warm as long as you've got sun. And it can even do an okay job on a cloudy day, but not as good, obviously. So it's a partial solution for cooking. Fuck. I've been walking my ass off. I'm using an app called Google Fit, which is free, and it has a little calendar on it that makes a circle that shows you like how much you've walked that day on these different days of the month. And so I can just look at it and say, well, I'm not walking enough. And this month I'm doing really good. There's only been one day. Well, it's only the 7th, I think, or 8th, or I don't know what day it is. It's March 8th today, 2004. And so I've got a series of walks that all over that I enjoy. Although this is one of my favorite ones because I can stop into town to get supplies, aka beer, so I can drink it on my walk. And that also adds a bunch of weight to my backpack, so it's even better exercise, and it's better than putting rocks in my pack or something. This way I can drink the weight I'm carrying. And it is true, it's odd maybe you think to drink beer in the morning, but screw it, I'm getting exercise at the same time I'm drinking beer, so it's actually just fine. And it starts out cold and then gets warm, of course, but I don't care about that. I don't care about most details. Most things don't fucking matter. Like 90% of what people think they need, they don't. So that's another reason I should do product reviews, because living the way I do with the philosophy I do, it's philosophy some other people do share. And so I would only be reviewing the best products. I'm not interested in just doing random product reviews. And this also could be a sponsorship thing where I could get people to send me products that I especially like and believe in. And that would benefit them. It would advertise their product, but also it would be advertising a lifestyle, right? And something that fits in with my values, which are hardcore. I mean, I have hardcore values, and I like that. But one of them is to not use almost anything. Live with as little energy as possible, but using things like the evacuated tube solar hot water heaters or any other technology using that to really, I live on 5% of the resources that I probably did when I lived in the city, right? I lived in the city in the United States after I grew up. As soon as I was 18, I headed for the city for the opportunities, So yeah, I have potentially a long list of potential sponsors, and I could make specific videos about certain products, or I could just have them be in videos and showcase them. Like if we were cooking something fun, we would happen to be using these evacuated tube ovens, I guess they're ovens. So that would be cool. Yeah, I should totally get an earlier start on my walks because it's not hot out yet, but just the radiation from the sun ends up being a lot. This is one of my shorter walks here, and there's nothing exciting about it. The other time I walked this, I took off on this route here, this dirt road, and cut up, and then walked through people's properties. I was trespassing, bummer, and I walked across those to check out that land because I'd seen it in maps and stuff, and I wanted to do it. That was a harder walk because I had to like squish through barbed wire fences and stuff, and that's when I find out that I'm not flexible enough, because you got to be pretty flexible to go through barbed wire fences without getting too stabbed. And this shirt, which I've been wearing for about a month now, I think, got ripped up a little more than it was already ripped up. So this shirt is no longer quite correct. It's part of the bottom part just ripped open. You can see my muffin top coming over my pants, my shorts. So, wow, I sure do talk a lot. I think living the way I do, I use the camera as a social outlet. Unfortunately, it is a one-sided conversation, so I'm not getting feedback from someone. I have made other videos walking with other people, and that's actually more fun. The ideal is actually 3 people, all of whom know how to handle the camera, hold it relatively stable, because I don't want to carry a tripod. I think that if you get good at just hand holding, which is what I'm doing now, you can be stable enough, right? And of course we could use video stabilizers software to improve that, but this is really messed up in here. Okay, there's a decent trail. I guess I'll take it. Yeah, that's more comfortable. It's not too bad. What are we talking about? Walks and stuff, whatever. Interesting, there's up here, a big, huge piece of railroad metal, a railroad track that is not used anymore. They replaced it, right? Or they just left it there for some reason. Maybe they had an extra one. But that's actually potentially a resource. I believe that's federal property, so technically not mine. But it's huge. It's really long. It goes from right here, over there, to way down there. And this would be really cool to come with a generator and a welder, I don't know much about welding, but something that cuts metal, a cutter, and cut pieces of this that were small enough so a couple folks could carry it to a vehicle somewhere. And then this is actually a great resource. The number one best use I can think of for this kind of railroad track is making anvils for forges. And one of my many projects is to build an entire forge. I know a really cool guy with a forge, and he makes swords and knives and stuff. And so you can actually make, I mean, this thing, you could make 100 forges, but you make more, like 100 anvils or more out of that one long piece. Or I guess you could also use it in construction. See, I'm losing my trail here. That trail sucks. That trail goes off to a kind of cliff thing, overhangs, and I really avoid falling down now. I've become cautious, which is annoying because I used to climb buildings in university for fun. You know, I'd go have a couple beers with a guy, and then we'd climb buildings, and we never fell off. I really can't believe that, like, I took so many risks. I've climbed bridges. I mean, I've just taken all these risks in my life, and I've always gotten away with it, and then I fall off a stupid roof. God, that's life. Oh well. Yeah, I walked all up in there, so I don't need to walk up there again. And I took my GPS with me, so that was cool. I am just hand holding this camera. I don't use a stabilizer. I did buy one that you can hold it, and then it supposedly stabilizes the camera. But you kind of have to get good at using those. what is it called, like a, there's a name for those. I forgot at the moment. Huh, somebody cut down some branches in here. Why would they do that? That's a weird place to have a bunch of branches. I mean, there are some nice views of the valley here from the railroad tracks. It gets to a really cool view up there. But, you know, there's trees over there that block the view, so I don't know why someone would cut these. Maybe they were interfering with the train. I don't know. So, all right, I'm gonna look for one of them beers. All right, so we got a big beer here, 40-ounce bottle of beer. What are those called? They're called, there's a name for this size of beer, but I forgot what it is. My hands, luckily, are big enough where I can just hold it. You know, get a slight arm workout by drinking. But what I actually want is a container for it with a handle. And I bought one, but it's a thermos one, which I don't like because it takes up too much space. It's to keep your beer cold, right? And so what I want is just a handle on this. And so it took me a while to figure out, like, how would I do that? But I figured it out. And it is, you know, it made me think of like macrame and having a webbing that this fits into, and then it has a handle on it. And a lot of macrame is made with this brown string, but that seems kind of weak to me. And I actually don't really like how it looks. It looks very 70s. And so what I was thinking was that I could get some paracord. Paracord is like a thin rope. And there's a lot of projects you can make with paracord, and this would be a fun project. It could even be a video of like, how do you make a paracord container for this thing to be held in, and then how do you hook on like a wooden handle or a bamboo handle, or, you know, a comfortable handle probably would be nice. But I think wood would probably be okay because I have oak and stuff, and so that would be really fun to carve that, make the thing with the paracord, and it would be just a little bit easier to hold it, especially for people with smaller hands. Although smaller people probably don't need as much beer. Not that anybody really needs beer, especially since this is a dead beer. It's alcohol pop, alcohol soda. There's no living yeast in it, so it's not actually my favorite kind of beer. You notice I'm holding it so you can't see the label, because I don't even want to advertise a crap-ass beer. You know, I want really good beer with living yeast. And I brewed a lot of beer in my life, so I know what good beer is, and living yeast in your beer has a lot of vitamin B, which is great, and especially since, if I understand it, alcohol robs your body of vitamin B, so you're putting the vitamin B back in with the alcohol. And also, I'd rather support like small breweries, or better yet, get back into making my own beer, because I used to make like 15-gallon batches. I started with 5 gallons, but I switched to 15-gallon batches, and I would make 2 in a day. And then the total time to ferment in the big fermenters, you know, like garbage can sized fermenters, you know, and I would pitch it with yeast from the local brewery, so that I wasn't pitching it with just some small amount of dried or liquid yeast. Instead, I would go to the brewery with a sterilized or sanitized container, and my brewer friend would just go to one of these big stainless steel tanks, go to the bottom of it, and then open a valve and dump a bunch of, you know, really active, super active yeast into this thing. And that way I can pitch, that's what it's called, dumping the yeast in. Beer has a bunch of, like beer brewing has a bunch of special words, you know. And then the fermentation goes boom fast, and that reduces any risk of contamination or anything, because the yeast take over the wort. That's W-O-R-T, wort. They take it over really quick. They rapid ferment it, right? And so that's a better way to do beer. And I have a capper, so I could even use these same bottles and cap them, and then I'd have like homebrew. And right now I'd be walking along drinking a better beer. Also, it would be a stronger beer. I was actually holding these as kind of, I mean, it's fine. I'm working out, right? but it actually gets a little tiring because I'm holding up this camera as well, and I'm used to doing that, so it's fine. But that is, I don't know, I've got both hands tied up. It's kind of annoying. So, and I prefer beer, I mean, I could have a water bottle with hard alcohol in it, you know, have like a cocktail, but it's not actually my goal to get drunk. It's my goal to drink something cool. Well, actually, I don't have a refrigerator. I'm against refrigeration, heavily against refrigeration. Oh, and here there's another piece of railroad track, a big one. And so, but if I had a refrigerator, I could actually take a water bottle that had a alcohol and water mix in it, or whatever flavorings or mixers I want, and then I could almost freeze it. It's very hard to freeze alcohol, but I could cool it way down, and then I would have a cool drink to walk with, and that would be smaller. But I also like the idea of drinking a lot of water. Like, I want a lot of water with my alcohol, because one of the problems with drinking hard alcohol is it dehydrates you, right? And I'm already out here walking in the sun, which is not hot yet, but it will be. This is really nice in here. Look at this. All these cool rocks and stuff. This is a sweet spot. But I still want that handle, because then I could hold it. Why am I tired today? I think I'm tired because I've been walking every fucking day. Also, I like the idea of combining beer drinking with exercise, because why not? It's my excuse to go out and walk at all, you know? You in the camera, the audiobook, and getting a beer. So I get my reward. There's another cross up here where somebody died. Right there. They were probably drinking and walking at night or something, and the train came and got them. That's not good. Wonder if I'll ever find a dead body along these tracks. I don't really want to. I don't like dead people. Dead people should be underground, composting. All right, well, I'm going to walk in peace for a bit, and I'll check back in when I get to a cool view or something. Well, there's a problem. Here in the tracks, there's a whole bunch of firewood. Someone has cut down this tree over here for firewood. See how they cut it up right here? But they left a bunch right in the middle of the tracks and on the tracks. So I don't know if that's enough to derail a train. It's actually probably pretty hard to derail a train, but that seems really irresponsible. I'm not sure why they didn't finish clearing the tracks before they left, but I'm hoping that they do clear them before the next train comes through. Actually, it would be really nice to know the train schedule here. Like, that's probably, I don't know if that's online anywhere, but I know which company runs these trains that come along these tracks, because I looked it up. There should also be an app for that where I could report. I mean, there should be an app actually to report garbage. There should be an app to report, the same app could report things like this, a hazard in the road, that you could report potholes, any, public thing, utility that's being interrupted could be instantly reported, and then someone will do something about it. Now, you might think, hey, you're someone, you could clear those tracks right now. You are so right. I could just get rid of this stuff. It wouldn't even take me that long. But I'm guessing that people are going to come back pretty quick, and I just don't feel like it. I mean, I pick and choose which of the many problems I'm surrounded by in the world. I pick and choose which battles I choose to fight. And this is something I just don't give a fuck about. It's not my problem. It's not a passenger train. I don't think it's carrying anything toxic in the trains that go through here. I sincerely doubt that they do. I mean, I guess this is a test. It's like passing a piece of garbage. Do you pick it up or don't you? because the more garbage that there is, the more garbage there will be, because it gives people permission to then litter everywhere. I mean, this is a strange form of litter. This is actually a valuable thing. It's firewood. And so, but hopefully they're going to come back at any time. I can tell from the log that was cut. Actually, this was a dead tree. This tree was already dead, so I can't tell when it was cut as easily because it wasn't freshly cut. I mean, it was freshly cut, but it's not a fresh tree. So, oh well, not my problem. And that's a failure of my character to do a good thing. But I guess I just choose not to be a responsible person and take care of that problem right now. So, I'm a bad person. At least in that case. Oh, another thing I like about beers this size is that this kind of bottle is not destroyed and remade for every time. You return the bottle, right? There's a deposit on it. You return the bottle and then they refill it. Ecologically, that is way better. And it has a paper label on it. So when the label is looking like shit, they just replace the label. And that uses far less energy than melting glass down to make the same bottle over again. That's ecologically a stupid waste of energy. It's just super dumb. And of course, if you're brewing your own beer, you can keep reusing these bottles. And that's something you can think about in your own life. It's a minor thing maybe, but this is a cappable bottle. And so you should learn about how to recognize that. It's not a screw top, right? It's a metal cap. And so those are actually a resource. Back when I lived in the city, we would go behind restaurants to their dumpsters and garbage cans, and we would harvest, we would gather bottles we could then wash and use for home brewing. So in your life, you probably know a home brewer. If you don't know a home brewer, you don't have the right friends. You know, but that means that any bottles you buy, you could buy something that has packaging that is then useful to be recycled by somebody else. And you know what they'll do, if you store up your bottles for a while, either the ones you produce or your restaurant does or whatever, then you could give those to the brewer, and they would be inclined to give you beer in exchange. You know. Look at this. This is a hazard here because it's missing, like, I've become much more risk averse because I'm just not as nimble as I was. So anyway, so that's a small thing you can do in your life. That's a suggestion from me to you, is to, you know, have some friends or ask around, like, who brews beer, and you know, those folks would even pick it up from you. And I mean, I used to be part of a brew club, and so we would meet on Fridays and sit around a table and taste each other's home brews. You know, it was actually really pretty fun. It was socially a great thing for quite a few years for me. Very nice. So yeah, the melting down of glass to make bottles over again is just dumb. I actually never throw away bottles. I don't throw away glass, even if I can't reuse it. In some cases, I made a bottle cutter. I just fixed a glass cutter onto some pieces of wood, and then you can roll the bottle on it, and you can make then a bowl out of it. Like, you could cut this and make a bowl from the bottom. I've also seen wind chimes that are made of rings of glass. That's pretty cool. And I think they have those that they sell commercially as well. And that would be a good product, again, like a worthwhile product if you don't want to make your own cutter. And there may be a commercial one might be better quality as well. So I don't throw out any glass because glass is hugely recyclable. It currently is not worth it to me to melt that glass down and make things with it, like windows or glasses or whatever. But actually, that'd be cool to actually make real glasses, optical glasses out of glass. I mean, you wouldn't make it with brown glass, obviously. Even when we collected bottles, we were always really happy to find like blue bottles or anything that was different. different colors, or cooler glass. And that's because I also brewed a lot of mead, M-E-A-D, mead. It is fermented honey with water and yeast, and you can add berries into it. You can make herbed ones. There's a bunch of names for, like piments, which is a fruited one, I think. Metheglin, I think there's one called Metheglin. I don't know, it sounds like crystal meth beer, but and then there's sizers. What is a sizer? No, a sizer is actually apple. Oh, wouldn't that be apple cider? Or is a sizer a kind of mead that has, I don't know what a sizer is, I forgot. I haven't been brewing mead for a long time. But mead is really great, because also I can't grow my own barley where I live. It's not convenient. I mean, I could experiment with it. That gets into food forest farming for like grains and stuff, which is harder, because those are things that are especially convenient for monoculture in fields, which is not the kind of thing I want to grow. But mead made from honey is fantastic, because honey doesn't go bad, right? Bees do all the work, domesticated bees, which are controversial, I know, but I'm quite interested in that, and I have beehives in my forest, but they're not mine. A long time ago, like I've been out in the forest for 20 years now, and when I was about 3 years in, this guy said to me, "Hey, can I put beehives on your land?" And I'm a good neighbor, and so I said, "Well, I guess, where would you put them?" Because I don't want bees stinging me and stuff. And so he told me a spot that he liked, and it's not a spot where anybody currently walks. And so for the past 18, 17 years or something, he's had bees there on my property. And that's good for me because they pollinate things. And it's also good for me because it's cool. And he has given me like 2 jars of honey for 17 years of having his bees on my land. That's not a very good return rate on my investment, but I think that one of the important things is to just invest in your neighbors. And so it doesn't hurt me to have those bees there. And so I don't care if he gives me honey or not. I'm not a good businessman. I'm not always trying to get a deal off people and make sure that I get paid for every interaction. I think there's a lot to be said for a gift economy, and just giving people stuff. I like it. And later on I might get into beekeeping, or have bees on my land and somebody can take care of them, because it's not that hard, and you get one of the most magic substances that there is in the history of food, which is honey. It doesn't go bad. It's nutritious. It's better than other sugars. It's dense and highly fermentable. So, the one thing with mead, and I'll make videos on all these things. We're just kind of brainstorming today and about topics. But I have a lot of tricks and tips on how to brew mead really well. And one of my tips is actually to age it for 2 years. 2 years. And you can get to, about 18% alcohol if you do it right. Theoretically, I use champagne yeast. Well, usually I've used beer yeast in the past when I brewed mead, and then I would use the beer yeast to do the initial fermentation, and then as that was calming down, I would add in the champagne yeast to raise it to a higher alcohol level, because champagne yeast can handle a higher alcohol level. It can survive, so it can finish the job. But what I found out with my first batches was that the last bottles of it that I was drinking were super awesome, like super good, and that made me realize that I was drinking it too young. I was drinking it too soon, because those last bottles were like a dry champagne. They had little bubbles in it because I would do a finishing sugars before I bottled it, and that would kick in a little extra step of fermentation. And you get these, really beautiful liquid with little bubbles, very high alcohol content, like dangerously high. Like, if you brought 5 gallons of mead to a party, you're going to have a lot of drunk people, which is not necessarily always a bad thing. Look at that down there. There's a big fire. down in the valley. Normally they burn crops and stuff, and that's like it looks like a mushroom cloud almost. Sorry, I'm using a camera that can't really show it to you well, but that looks really cool because the smoke goes up and then it hits about the altitude that I'm at, and then because of the stratification of the air, the humidity, temperature, all that, it then spreads out across. It looks pretty cool. Although whoever's in that smoke down there probably isn't enjoying it. Usually those burns are intentional to improve the soil for agriculture, and it's a way to clear the land. Just do grasses and stuff like that. It's probably not the ideal thing to do every year, but it's actually good for soil to occasionally have burns. And as I make videos, I'll include you. As we make videos, because you're my motivation, right? I'll talk about intentional burns in a forest, because I have fought forest fires on my property, and they've produced the most productive gardens in those locations, and they've cleared land really easily. Fire is great for clearing land, but I would want to do it with a bunch of people in a controlled way so that we don't accidentally start a forest fire. We would not do it this time of year because it's too dry, and it's only going to get drier until the rains come. And when the rains just start to come, when it's moist enough so it burns slower, that's when we would do a burn. But I would invite a bunch of people over. I would buy a bunch of beers. We would all have shovels, and we would start a fire and control it and guide it so it just burned where we wanted it to and didn't get out of hand. But we're not doing that this time of the year. And I like paying people in beer. It's more friendly than cash, you know. Because I'd want a bunch of people. Like I could invite over like 15, 20 people. And or have visitors, you know. Because I'm going to start having visitors again. I've been alone so long. And it's a bummer to be alone. On the other hand, it's awesome to be alone because people are super annoying. So I have to figure out like how to have people in my life and not have it be a net loss, you know. We're getting up here closer to that nice view I mentioned before. Oh, this is a great cliff in here. You can see all these agaves and nopales on this cliff side. Nopales are also a great thing to plant in the forest, by the way, and they can survive forest fires. So can agaves. So if they're big enough. And the agaves you can actually also ferment to make mezcal or tequila. Well, tequila would be blue agave, so I could make mezcal out of this type of agave. There's a few kinds around here that I actually plant. I collect the seeds and I make baby magueys, agaves, and then I plant them through the forest. And then someday, 9, 12 years later, those will be worth harvesting. I could even sell them as a cash crop to a distillery. But another option would be to harvest them myself. I would need to buy a grinder. They use a gasoline-powered grinder over in a different town over there. But I mean, you know, I could even use a burro and a big rock. There's places where they do that, and it just crushes the hearts of the agave, and then you dump that into a vat, and then you ferment it up, and then you have to distill it, right? And that's a fun process that I've never done. I've never distilled anything, but that would be very fun to make my own mezcal. And I wouldn't even mind having my own brand of mezcal. I have a name picked out for it, and I have a label idea that would look pretty. I can even make more than one. So I'd be producing my own, which I couldn't sell. I would have to partner with a company to sell it. But there is a company I like that makes mezcal. Really nice people. So I've thought about going to them and saying, hey, you know, can we make a brand deal where I'm advertising the mezcal that they make, and some of it would even be made from the magueys I raised, you know, so I could sell them the magueys. They could pay me in mezcal, although then I would have a lot of mezcal, which is dangerous. But, oh, this is a nice view out there. That's a really cool looking fire, I tell you. Somewhere in here, Where the hell was it? I think it's up here. Yeah, it's up here. I want to put a bench, like a metal bench that is, you know, has its legs locked into concrete so no one steals it. Or just dig into the slope and make a bench. That'd be fine too, but just some place to sit, preferably in the shade, but that's optional. And because I'm about halfway along the railroad tracks here for what I'm going to walk, and this is just a stellar view. So if I really did start my walk super early and it was a cloudy day, because, you know, moderately cloudy days make the best sunrises, because right now it's so clear that the sun just comes up. It's not exciting, it's not pretty, but there's a lot of days where the sunrises are just gorgeous. Also, you know, another good walk would be in the late part of the day when it's getting cooler out. Yeah, all this in here is big area. Should be like all macheted and stuff. And there's already some rocks in here you could sit on. So having some just, you know, turning rocks so that they're good for sitting on would also work just fine. Damn, that is a nice view. I can see far, far, far. I can see lots of peaks out there that I'd like to climb. Some more than others. Some of them look interesting on the map. And most of them don't have a trail. But I could develop trails. There's like, you know, like roads in there that farmers use, and you know, like really crappy roads that most cars would not want to go on. But and then in here is actually kind of an interesting spot, because there's a gully right here on the upside, on the upper side of the railroad tracks, as opposed to the lower side, which is down that way and is super steep. But this side could be cleared out, and the rain coming off this hill would make a microclimate right there, and then you could plant stuff. This is federal land, right? So nobody's going to complain about it. And oh, look at that. That's cool. Also, there are a few spots where if a train did come, which I have seen a train once during the day. I almost hit it with my car because I wasn't expecting a train, because there's hardly ever trains here. But I had to stop really quick so that I didn't get in the path of the train with my vehicle. So, but in here, this is a brilliant idea, and this would be like guerrilla gardening, you know. That again, nobody would complain about it, and it would be slightly more moist there. It gets a lot of early morning sun. It doesn't get the last part of the sun during the day, so it skips the latter part of the hottest part of the day. And so during a lot of the year when there's rain, it's going to be moister in there, right? And so a lot of these plants in here are just crap ass plants that are everywhere, so it's not going to hurt anything to cut them all down. So I just, you know, cut all this shit down. It's another project to do, and not cut it all down, but a lot of it, and then plant things in there like, I don't know, lemon balm, or, you know, some Himalayan blackberries. Those are not invasive here, you know, but those also grow, so you have to cut them a little bit back, but just whatever the hell. And you could even improve the soil right in there. So, I mean, we're far from everything, so it would be wheelbarrow loads of soil, although soil is also coming off this hill up here. So it wouldn't be that hard, you know. And even when you cut all this stuff down, it's just going to rot there. And so you could cut it down one year and then try and kill it the next, you know, like anything that comes up, do it again, and just starve the plant for not being able to do any photosynthesis, and then improve the soil, and then plant cool stuff. Now, in this case, I wouldn't cut this down. This is actually producing seeds right here, which I'm going to grab a couple of. These seed pods are starting to dry out. This one's dry. This one's green and not quite dry, but it will dry, and the seeds are probably already developed just fine. These ones look ready to harvest. And this particular tree or bush, whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I'll put that in my backpack here. Hopefully I don't forget about it for too long. I'll just slip them in there. My backpack's actually ripped. Everything I own is falling apart because I never go shopping. almost ever. So yeah, this one right here, it's a good backpack. It's done really well, and it's taken a lot of abuse, but it's just the whole top of it's just ripped open, and I'm not real great with sewing, so somebody could sew that up though. I could pay him to do it. And that would be another sponsor. A potential sponsor would be like the best backpack types, because with the lifestyle I have, everybody who visits me should have a backpack. They're going to need to put a flashlight in it. Headlamps are awesome. That'd be another product I could support for living a lifestyle with less electricity, because I live in a dark place without a lot of power. I'm used to darkness, and darkness is very annoying. So this is a brilliant idea, though. I hadn't really thought about planting it before. And it's not mine, so other people would harvest stuff off of it, but, you know, and you wouldn't plant like a tree there that's going to invade the train, or you know, impede the function of the train. That would be bad. Oh, I got a cool thing we can do. This will be fun. I'm tempted not to do it because there's that blockage over there. And if anybody was, you know, if the train did crash and there was an investigation, I don't want to leave anything weird around. However, I brought something kind of fun, because I kind of like to mess with reality, you know, and make life a little bit more mysterious. And so this is what I'm going to do. Wasn't there a movie called Amelie? For some reason, I sort of think of her as a trickster character. I think she was doing something with photos or something. I don't remember. What I've got, though, are these, right? This is a Mahjong block. It's from a game called Mahjong, which I believe is popular in Asia, maybe China and maybe some other places. And these are like really high quality, big, thick plastic Mahjong things, right? Now, I bought that set from someone used because they weren't using it. And then I tried to play Mahjong and realized I don't care at all about Mahjong. It's too complicated. I don't have anyone to play it with. I did install a software thing and I tried it out, tried to learn briefly, but then decided this is not worth my time at all, not even close. And so then what am I going to do with these Mahjong blocks? Well, this is a secret, okay? Don't tell anybody. But I've been, for the last 7 or 8 years, I've occasionally been dropping these off in weird spots around town where someone will find them. And what I'm hoping is that they see the garbage I left. Here, I'm going to drop this right here, okay? Here we go. Boop. I littered right there. But my hope is it's a high enough quality garbage that someone's going to see that. And I've got a bunch of them, right? There's 120 pieces in a set, I think. And I often forget, and I'm not constantly dropping these off. I'm doing it very slow. But eventually, then people are going to be collecting these, because they'll find them, and then eventually they'll realize someone's doing this weird thing. And what I'm doing there is making a more mysterious world. I'm making a world in which people have mystery in life. It's kind of a prank, I guess. It's not really the right word. It's just making things be weirdly more magical somehow. God, I gotta stretch out more. Hi dogs, you having fun? This is a fun walk, isn't it? Yeah, look. Why did I put that block there? Look, it's right there. Hi, the good dogs. You're so good. Yeah, okay, let's keep walking. Get on my way. They love going on walks with me. I don't know what they think, like why we're walking, but they just wag their tails and smell things, and you know, there's animals that cross through here, and so they're just having a really fun time. Dog noses smell way more than human noses. They're able to smell things. so their perception is much heightened. Like, I don't know if it's 100 times more or what, but a lot more. And so they're having a blast today. Where's my little dog? Right there. My littlest dog. The only little dog. She's actually a sweetheart. She's not a yappy little bitch. So that's because I raised her. And I trained her not to ever yap unless there's a really good reason, like she hears something important. And it is interesting that sometimes she will hear something that the big dogs don't hear. She'll hear it first, and she'll then yap at it, and then they'll run over there to investigate. So she's actually an important part of the team. You know, and the dogs are part of the security team. They're very important. And they mostly don't cause any trouble. They have caused trouble. But this current pack, I mean, obviously over a 20-year period, in a relatively dangerous environment to live in as a dog, a forest, with no fencing, you know, dogs have died of old age, of being ripped up by animals maybe, because they get weak. And even dogs themselves will attack a dog in their pack that used to be dominant and now isn't. So, there's like rocks in here. Okay, I'll move those rocks. That's just, why the fuck? Who would leave a rock right there? That is just dumb. Now, these look like they were put here on purpose, but that one looks like it could interfere with the... No, it's not going to interfere with it. I think it's fine. I should remember that, though, and check on it. Up here, there's an interesting case of an agave that has... it was flowering and has fallen down off the slope here onto the beside the tracks, and that's the flower right there. So that's really cool looking, but it no longer has roots. And so the question is, will this agave actually produce seeds before it dies? Will the flower complete? Or is it too damaged to complete? And they only flower once and then they die. So they get one chance at reproducing themselves. Kind of a questionable reproduction strategy in my opinion, but it works. Good enough. So if there are seeds on that later, then I'll be coming by here and I'll be collecting the seeds and I'll plant those in a better spot than by the railroad tracks. So that'd be really cool. That was the view. We're leaving the view now. Goodbye, view. Goodbye. Rawr. This right in here is kind of an interesting spot because you can see the geology. You know, when they made the railroad tracks, they cut them through here, and they had to make them flat, right? So they had to cut through this hillside, and you see these nice big rocks in here. Like, I don't even know what kind of rock this is right here exactly, but I think it's shale. Because over here, you see, hey baby, you see here on the ground is a bunch of flat rocks, which could be useful. I mean, if you collected these, I mean, I'm far from everything right now, far from any roads, but these could be used as a tool, because, you know, I'm planning for a solar punk world. I'm planning for the post-apocalyptic world after, you know, the population has gone down to 1 or 2 billion people, and we might not have a mine. We might have trouble getting metal, you know, and so this could be used for like carving wood and things or something, because ancient civilizations built amazing things with really shitty tools, like astounding stuff, you know, like the pyramids and things. And in Peru, there's these really cool rock things that fit together really well. So this could also be used for art. You could take really flat, nice looking ones and you could paint a cool scene on them, and that would make a nice looking piece of art there, you know. And they're just laying around here. Look, there's just tons of them. I don't feel like carrying them today, but I have gathered some before. Also with shale, when I was a kid up in the mountains, my dad took us up there, and we would break up the rocks along the fracture lines and look for fossils. Now, I don't know if there's any fossils here at all, but this is probably not volcanic rock. Some places around here, the geology is different, and I actually do have a geology map of the whole state, which shows like what kinds of rocks are where. And then the other question I have is, are there any valuable types of rock? I know that around here there is obsidian, which obsidian, if you fracture that, you can make a blade that is sharper than a steel knife. Surgeons used to use it. But in general, talking with some rockhound friends of mine, in general there aren't gemstones found around here. There are in other places that I don't go to. I don't hardly ever leave the forest except going on walks like this. And so this rock would be worth checking out. But I'm also interested if there's any gemstones, which means that I should have a rock tumbler, you know, and I could even make like a bicycle-powered rock tumbler, or even wind-powered, or one that runs on solar, but only runs when the sun is out. Or I could use what's called the diversion load. When my batteries on my solar system are all charged and there's extra electricity, that means that I'm wasting an opportunity. And so I could have a rock tumbler that was pretty big, you know, like a small barrel that just runs a small barrel and polishes rocks. And I could even take rocks that I don't think are cool, because a lot of times, you know, like gemstones don't look amazing. They're not obvious. I mean, there's places like, I went out with some friends of mine a long time ago, and we went to a place and found quartz and stuff like that. And, you know, we were looking for geodes and really cool things. Those are like weird rock things where a crystal formed inside of it. Very cool. You've probably seen those. You can use a rock saw and cut them in half, and they look pretty. But I would love to learn a little bit more about geology of the area. And I know of one other place where there's shale exposed, where a road was put in. And so I could even collect those, and you could use them as pavers for a deck. You know, you could make like flat spots and a little cement. Put them in there. That'd be really cool. Rock on, baby. Right in here, there's a case where we have a tree. It's very spiky, scrawny looking tree. Right in here, right where the rain goes under the railroad tracks, right? And this is a tree called Wisontle, locally, and it's full of seed pods right now, just full of them. And these seeds will mostly not be able to germinate. They're going to be wasted, right? Like most of your seed is probably wasted. Most of mine certainly is. Actually, my seed is not seed. That's true. I have a vasectomy, so no seed. I no longer produce seeds. But this thing is just full of these seed pods. And if I put these seeds even directly in the ground, well, the ground is covered with these pods too, but I'm not even flexible enough to pick stuff up off the ground that easily. Come on, don't fall off, fuckers. And, God damn it. Oh, come on. Ouch, ouch, ouch. It's very spiky. Now, why would I want to plant a spiky tree that has no specific value to me? Well, it's actually hard to know what's valuable. And some of the honey you can buy is labeled as Wisontle honey, even though it's not purely Wisontle, right? I mean, it's not like you can tell the bees, I want this kind of honey, so only go to these kind of flowers and stuff. But, you know, I mean, I've already just in a few seconds here, a few minutes, collected, you know, several hundred of these seeds. And the other valuable thing that this tree could have, I don't know if this tree has any other value other than bees, you know, but, you know, is the wood useful for anything? Maybe it's really great for something. But it's also so spiky that, you know, when I want to plant hedgerows, when I want to make lines of plants that people can't get through and provide excellent habitat for animals that want to be protected, then I can have this as one of the trees in that hedgerow. Don't fall, fucker. Sorry if I curse, but obviously I'm not sorry enough to not do it. So just deal with it or turn me off, baby. I don't give any shits about your opinion at all. So fuck that. This tree up here actually looks like a capeline, a black cherry tree, and I'm not sure if it is, but it's producing seeds right now. And I'm not going to bother collecting those, but maybe in a different part of the season I'll come through here. See, it's producing little fruits. It just flowered. This totally looks like a black cherry. Those produce little tiny cherries that are moderately okay. They might be really good in mead, actually, because they would give it, they're a deep red, you know, almost purple, and those would go good with mead. Not necessarily for the flavor, because they're not the most flavorful cherries, but they would add a really nice color to the mead. And you could also do that with mezcal, to have a red mezcal. You could name it like Dragon's Blood or something, some weird name for it. I've also tried using it as an ink, but I have better plants for making inks. So, you know, when you think about food and plants, you know, think about plants as not just for food, but for all the other potential uses. As a fiber, you can, all these agaves can produce really nice fiber that you can use to make stuff with. I haven't done it, but when the leaves die, they have a really cool fibrous nature to them. And there might be ways to make baskets or something. Up here you can see the flowers, the old flowers of the magueys. And even the stalks are actually pretty cool because they're super lightweight. They have like a foam inside of them. And in one case I had some ants eat out the inside of the flower stalk. And look, this one's growing right in the middle of the railroad tracks. That is not a good place for that maguey. Here's one right over here that gets run over by the train. See that? It gets the sides run over. But that's a dumb place for a maguey since they get like 8 feet across, you know, or a couple meters or whatever. Maybe 3 for a big one. They look impressive too. But yeah, a bunch of these are like very inconveniently placed. So that's another reason I should collect seeds of them and plant them in spots where they can actually mature, and also an easier place to harvest them, to use them. This rock is different in here. Yeah, I don't think this is shale in here. Doesn't look like shale to me, but you'd probably have to take a rock hammer and smash some of it up to see how it fractures, but this just doesn't look like shale at all. It looks like some animal lives in that cliff over there. Up here we've got some wild blackberries, and these are going to be relatively small berries because these are not Himalayan blackberries. I do have some Himalayans I'm growing, but they don't do really that well here because it's a bit dry where I live. And wow, look at that. Way up there. So that's a very useful plant. Look, I can see the road that we're going to turn off the railroad tracks on from here. That's great. Oh, that other tree that I collected seeds off of, it's the same as this one. And this has seeds, but it still has some flowers on it. See how they're nice, pretty flowers? And those flowers also will be useful for birds and bees. So even though that plant may not be useful to me directly, I want to grow things in a food forest that aren't just useful to me, but are useful to other animals and other beings. So we're not just trying to grow food. A lot of people, when they think about food forest farming, they focus on growing food. And it makes sense. Grow food. That's great. But there's a lot of other beings out there that need food too. So this cedar is not very well located either. So anything I would plant along the tracks would be unusual. And mostly it's just not a good place for plants. Most plants. But for certain plants, it's a great spot. Short plants, you know, that don't need to be maintained. Up here's a bush that is actually, looks like somebody cut part of that off. That's pretty cool. It has big leaves on it. And I don't know exactly what it's useful for, and I forgot the name at the moment. Somebody told me that once, but I don't remember. I wouldn't mind having some of that too, and it's currently flowering as well. So I could collect seeds off of that. Also, that particular plant looks to me like it's very easy to reproduce. I'll bet you that when the rains come, I could just cut pieces of these off and put them directly in the ground, maybe using a little bit of rooting hormone to encourage rooting growth, you know. And then I have a bunch of those. Do I need that plant? Is it useful? I don't know, but it's useful for somebody or something. You know, there's medicinal plants laying around. Some of them are fake, of course, because people love to say shit's medicinal that actually isn't, because they're liars, which actually hurts herbalism. I think in England they say the H on that, don't they? They don't say herb, they say herb, which makes more sense since there is an H there, so why aren't we saying it? That seems a little weird to me that we don't say that. This spot they dug up, this is a trail we're going to go on. They dug it up a while back to put a water pipe in that pipes water from the springs way up there down to the town that's down there for people to use. They steal the water from the forest and they use it not very efficiently. So I'm trying to increase water efficiency in the whole area because I don't want to live in a place that runs out of water. Water's kind of important, and so I wanted to put in composting toilets like I use. My composting toilet designs are awesome. They don't require maintenance. They're just super easy. Super easy. Now I have to walk up. And the sun is just now starting to get hot. What time is it? Still need a watch. 9:45. See, if I would have left, I could have left an hour earlier and I'd be home by now. And I wouldn't have any hot sun on me. Oh well. It doesn't really matter, but I am an idealist and I want to get the perfect way of living, you know? At least I get my walk in, and so I'll be back home by 10 something, and then I can check in on my computer, put these little video clips on my computer, snap them all together, and then people can go on this walk with me like you are now. I'm doing it for you, baby. Fuck. Up. And I'm still on my first beer. Oh, I was going to go down there. I forgot. God damn it. I'm going to do it. If you can do something, do something. If it can be done, do it. That's a general good philosophy. Although you should also consider the opposite philosophy, which is don't do things. Because most things are not good to do. So it's a cute phrase. But like many idioms, many sayings, it may not be good to do something. And actually I'm going to go down there and do something that some people would say is bad. I don't know if you'll say it's bad or not, but I'll tell you about it. I'm a bad man. Not really. I try and be the best person I can be. But we're going to walk a little bit further along these tracks than we have to. So back to the tracks. Look, there's nopales growing right here by the railroad tracks. Those could easily be harvested. Like just grab them, and I'm right near the road. So, you know, having a wheelbarrow means I could come over here, dig these up. They already have roots, and then put them somewhere where they'll actually survive and be productive. Because nopales produce prickly pears, they're called. And I actually do have a recipe in one of my brewing books, The Joy of Homebrewing, which is the basic book that I learned on brewing with. It's about beer, but in the back of it, in the end, in the appendix or something, they have some kind of stuff about mead. And they have a prickly pear mead. So that would be something you could add to mead to make it more exciting and interesting. Also in here, I noticed a different plant that's really weird looking. And I've never noticed it before. And it has little, let's check those out. Yarg. Oh yeah, wow, they just came right off there. What plant is this? I don't know what that is, but guess what? I pull it right up. So I'm going to take this with me. I'll put it in my backpack and collect the seeds and maybe try and root some of the pieces too. And again, like, I don't have to know what a plant is useful for. I'm trying to increase total bio because something's going to like that plant. There's some insect or animal or something, and who knows? I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't have to know what every plant's useful for to plant it. All I have to do is avoid planting things that are too toxic to be near humans, unless I have a poison garden. They're called poison gardens. You can look that up. And where I'm growing like really interesting medicinal plants, or maybe I want to kill somebody. I don't, but maybe, I mean, there's plants you can use as an insecticide. I've grown tobacco before, and you can use tobacco actually as an insecticide. So I think that's important with food forest farming, to not do it the way a whole bunch of people do it. A whole bunch of people are just too focused on food, and that isn't the goal. You know, also climate may change, right? So I'm planting for climate change. I'm planting in preparation for the climate to change. And so a plant that doesn't do well now might do well later. And of course, I don't want to plant anything invasive, so I'm careful about that. But this is clearly not an invasive plant. It grows already right here. You know, birds might be eating it and pooping the seeds around. But since I haven't seen a lot of it, that's even more reason to grow it in some spot. Find the microclimate it really likes, where it grows with no additional water, no irrigation, no pots, you know. Just grow it in the ground, and then it's one more bit of the genetic material in the space that has value somehow. It's much less likely to have somebody walking along this part of the railroad tracks. So let's dig into my bag here, and we'll pull out a couple coins. And these will fly off the tracks. And we did this when we were kids because it squishes the coin, right? And it looks cool. We do that with pennies and stuff. So I'm going to take a few coins. And I like this spot because when they do fly off the tracks, they'll hit this rock wall and then fall down, right? We won't put them too close together. And then I'll be able to actually walk along here and find the squished coins later. That's what we did when we were kids. And they'll look cool. So that's the goal. Make cool looking squished coins. I guess that's defacing of a currency, which might be a federal crime. I'm not really sure of that. We talked about that when we were kids, but we just didn't care enough to care. I don't think we're going to jail for it. So, and I do not believe this will impact the train in any way. So, we're not endangering anyone, in my opinion. And I guess I could just get a metal squishing thing and make my own coins that were squished. Although I've also thought about making earrings with really cool looking coins. I think that's a great idea. Especially you could use like foreign coins of various kinds. You could collect them. And the seeds are getting out of my pack. That's not good. They're escaping. So sometimes you can find cool stuff on the railroad tracks. Oh, my pack's gonna be heavier now. I found some pieces of metal. You can probably guess what I found. Alright, so I have to remember this spot right in here. And then I could actually come through here with a metal detector. Like, let's say I take this walk, you know, a dozen times, and I keep putting coins here. Now, somebody might pick them up. And that's another reason I put them here, is because hardly anybody walks along here. So my hope is the coin gets squished before somebody walks along the tracks and picks them up. And if I do it like 12 times, there'll be a bunch of squished coins around. And then I could come in with a metal detector, if they're not obvious, right? And I could find the coins and collect them. That might be a good kids' activity, actually, is to find coins that were squished. When we were kids, you know, we loved all that weird shit of any kind. It's fun. Got to have lots of fun. All right, we're all going uphill from here. But at the end is home and shade, so I can get to work for the day. See you later. This tree up here, right here, is a hawthorn tree. It's starting to produce fruits, and those fruits can be made to flavor a punch. They're all on the ground here as well. They're just falling off the tree. They may have some medicinal value, and so you could even make a tincture with them. Past visitor has done that, but I didn't follow up and do anything with the tincture, so it's just been sitting there for years. But they're a pretty cool tree, hawthorns. And in the past, I have collected the fruits of them and planted them, which I don't think most of them germinated. I planted them along a tree line or where I was trying to make a hedgerow. So I think I actually have to give them a little bit more help. And I need to have like garden beds that are just made to germinate these. And then I can dig up the baby trees and then place them where I want them. So I'm not going to even collect these today, but they are on the road that I use to go to town. So I would love to have an app, actually, in which I could mark where trees are that produce seeds and decide then to collect them. I could mark where and when, where the plant is and when it produces the seeds, so that more people could actually do what I do and collect seeds and reproduce plants of interest. Such an app would be really easy to do. In fact, I believe there's one called iNaturalist. I think I have an account on there where you can take a photo of a plant and it will be geotagged because your phone has a GPS in it, right? And the more important part is then to organize those particular points and by the season at which they produce the seeds, because that's what matters. And that would set up a calendar for you, an annual calendar of when you should go and collect seeds wherever. And it's not like there's a shortage of the seeds, right? Most of those fruits will never germinate a tree. And I have actually done this. There's a different tree on a different road that I noticed produced way more fruits and bigger fruits than the other hawthorns. And I went there and I actually cut pieces off of that tree and I grafted those onto hawthorns which don't produce very well or at all. And it could be that there's a gender issue there with whether it's a male or female tree. And I don't even know if hawthorns have male and female trees. I'm not sure. But I should look that up, actually. But we grafted the good hawthorn onto the not good hawthorn in hopes then of having, after some years, trees that produce better fruits. It's a good trick. Grafting is awesome. If you don't know what grafting is, you can learn about it. It's not even hard. You know, you do it once at the right time of the year, but you have to remember where the tree is too, because this is not the right time of the year to do grafting. Around here, that's in December and January, maybe February, when the trees are more dormant. And so you can cut a hawthorn down. I mean, you cut across it, and we just do a really simple kind of grafting where we put two little pieces into it. We connect it bark to bark. Somebody coming up here on a motorbike. That's rare. And so yeah, all this stuff. I mean, this is just a simple walk, right? But we're surrounded by biological opportunities. Hola. just, you know, have plants that are being really wasted. Like, you know, tons of those plants on the railroad tracks are never going to have a chance to actually mature because they're incorrectly located. So other times, like nopales, like this one, they break off, and they're really easy to reproduce just by putting a paddle on the ground. And as they dry out, they'll stick roots down and start to grow new plants. So it's one of the easiest plants to reproduce right there. And it's edible. I don't like to eat them that much because you got to scrape the spikes off of them. And I think I own like 4 kinds of nopales, and they all produce a slightly different fruit, a prickly pear. And some of those are better to eat than others. There's one that's just blood red. It's so cool. So even on a simple walk, we can learn some stuff. But I want the technology to help with that. I want the technology to tell me where the plants are I care about. And I could just report, you know, like there's an ash tree near here, and it produces tens of thousands of seeds that all go to waste. And ash is actually a really useful wood. You can make bows and arrows, or you can make bows with it, you know, for archery. And who knows? In the post-apocalyptic world, we might want archery again as a useful tool for hunting or for killing people. Some people do need to be killed, so we should get better at pragmatic archery, useful archery. This is an interesting case right along here. I get to stop in the shade and get out of the sun for a moment because there's cedar trees here. Somebody planted them. They planted them and then hooked barbed wire on them. And that's so that they don't have to always be replacing their rotting fence posts. The living trees act like fence posts. Now, if you were going to do that, you'd want to plant them far enough away from the road so you could eventually widen the road. And that's plenty wide right here. This could still be widened out more. And it doesn't have to be a 2-lane road. It just needs some places to pull out so that you don't have to back up. I've been on roads and had to back up quite a ways sometimes because there was another vehicle to find a turnout where I could get out of their way. So that's a really good trick. And is this an important tree here? There's plenty of pines already. There's plenty of conifers. But it's useful. And in this case, I'm enjoying the shade. So it's very nice. Let's meet Jesus, shall we? Here's Jesus. Hi, Jesus. How are you? Jesus with a Sacred Heart. That's kind of a goofy looking sculpture in there. But whatever. Seems like the head is too small. Jesus is a pinhead or something. And it's behind this gate here, so you can't really see it quite nicely enough. I would have put it kind of up a little bit more. Put it so people can see it. I mean, it greets you as you come through the gate if you live there. But I would have put it visually just a little different. And I would make the head bigger. Because it's a weird looking Jesus. You know? I do like the idea of roadside attractions. I think that's cool. And if you look at, like, there's probably a website or a map that maps out all the roadside attractions. And there's not a lot of them right where I live. And they're not very impressive. But it's a fun type of way to make public sculpture. Also, roadside attractions often aren't too serious. You know, like it could be a dinosaur or something. Or up in Ontario, Canada, there's a place that has a Wawa goose in a place called Wawa. And it's an enormous sculpture of a goose. And so, you know, you can take your picture with it and all that. I remember when I was a kid, we would go buy a Paul Bunyan sculpture in the Redwoods. I think there was Babe the Blue Ox there as well. And in that case, they actually had a spot in the sculpture. Now you could just put a camera in there. But it had a speaker. And so you could go and talk to Paul Bunyan, who was this famous, I think, forester. You know, a big guy. Maybe he was a railroad worker. I'm not even sure. But it was in the redwood forests in Northern California. And so as kids, we could walk up to the sculpture and we could talk to it, and it would talk to us back. We thought that was just great. You know, and there's some businesses near there, so that this roadside attraction causes people to stop, and then they might patronize the business. So I love those. I'd like to see more of them around here. I should just brainstorm like every idea I have for a roadside attraction. I could look up existing ones and get ideas there, and that would be so fun. Look, a guy's coming by on his horse here. Buenos dias. That horse guy reminds me that horses are a great form of transport. And so as we think about a post-apocalyptic world, a solar punk world, horses are an amazing, amazing tool. They're a partner, really, and they've obviously gone out of fashion as a transport system in most places. But as gasoline prices increase, they're a great choice. And they're actually, your ideal form of green transport. They just eat plants, So instead of buying gas to fuel your vehicle, your vehicle just goes and eats its fuel. You could even use it to clear an area of some brush or something. So, along with that, it would be nice, as I think about, do I want to get a horse? I don't know a lot about horses, but there should be like spots you can hook your horse up in town. Like, you think of like a Western movie or something, and there's what do you call those little bars where you just tie your horse to it? I don't even know. You could have a whole corral, and then the horses could play a little bit. But right now, like if I took a horse into the biggest town near here, I don't think there's any, I wouldn't know where to put it in town. And, it's a car-focused town now, but of course in the past it wasn't. So burros also are very useful for carrying things. So I actually want to grow donkeys and raise donkeys and learn about horses and raising them, and have saddlebags for them, and be a lot easier than doing what I'm doing now, which is walking around in the hot sun on a dusty road. Also, riding a horse looks cool, so some big benefits there. One of the biggest problems I've had for the last 20 years is trying to get to my house, because it's about 5 or 6 kilometers on a dirt road to get to town. And like trees fall over the road. This one was actually cut, and then they just left it here. They didn't manage to clear the road out. And then also, when the rains come, rain goes down the road and makes gullies in it, so that a normal person with a normal car would not tend to want to come down this road or up it. And in the rainy season, it also gets really slippery. So there's actually one spot where you can't get to my house in the rainy season. That's a major problem. I don't have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. In fact, my vehicle's old. It's 1997, and it's slowly falling apart, and it just doesn't have the ability to get up that hill at the very end. So I can almost get to my house, but not quite. And I have plans for that, and I'd love to get bulldozer work done along this road to widen it and flatten it, and then also make gullies that channel the water off of the road. And many people would like that. There's farmers, fields and stuff that would like to have a little extra water in them, and there's forests that would like a little extra water. So road fixes are one of the many things that are on the expensive priority list to make it so people can actually get to my house. A taxi will definitely not come to my house. They like their taxis, and they don't want them all banged up and dirty. So right in here is the worst part of the road. See, it's all full of gullies and rocks. And if you had a 4x4, that's no problem. But especially when it's rainy, you can't get up that. And it's a very short piece, right? And it's just before you get to my house. So I have to fix this one part. I need bulldozer work, maybe even concrete it, cement it, whatever. Just this little piece. It's about, how many meters is that? 40 meters? 40 meters of road. How much does that cost? Well, it wouldn't be cheap, and you got to get the machine out here, and you got to pay for the concrete, and I could cobblestone it. There's some cobblestone road up above, but in a place where it rains and it gets a lot of abuse, that can be rough on the road. Once you get past this though, it's not that bad. So 40 meters of bad road is all that lays between me and an easier way to get to my house. My property line is actually right here, so I could also run a road in from here, but there's still problems on the road. So I mean, I want to bulldoze a road all the way that direction in any case and put a gate up. But yeah, 20 years and I still have trouble getting to my house. And I can't just invite people over then, you know, for workshops and classes or retreats or whatever. Almost home. This is my south gate right over there, next to this big, beautiful madrone tree. The species name on that is arbutus, or family of the trees or whatever. I got an old stump of a madrone here that was painted white, so people wouldn't pass it by and miss it, because people tend to miss my gate. But I just paid a friend to clear all this out so that all the plants that grew over and made it so you couldn't use this gate, you can now use it again. I got a different gate up there, but that's up on some harsh road. It gets worse up there. So this is going to be the gate again. This is the original gate. I'm going to put it back into use, and the gate's off the road, which is where it should be, because then people can pull off the road. It might be locked, you know. It might be you got to walk in, although anybody that comes to visit me has to have an appointment. I do not like unexpected visitors. I don't have that many of them, but any is too many. So I'm going to fix this up a little bit and plant some hedgerows in here, and maybe even make a lower gate that goes down there. And because there's a whole bunch of land down that direction that I cleared some trees out, and I want to plant fruit trees in there and do some terracing, do some swales, like road-sized swales, big ones, and have an orchard there. It's got great light, and then this road here, I can channel water off the road to go into there. I want all the water I can get onto the property. So we're almost done with this walk, and I'm happy about it because my legs are tired as heck. And I finished my beer, so yeah, my sign up there says no visitantes sin previa cita, and I need to put that up there. I need to repaint it because it's all beat up. You can't even read it. And really, I would put the gate a little further in, and I want to plant hedgerows all around here, all along this road. I want to make 10 meters of really spiky plants that are hard to get through to increase security. I want to build a little building out here. A long time ago, I dug a spot right here to put a little building, but I might not put it right here. I could have a little solar panel and something that is a motion sensor and senses when somebody comes across here and alerts a gatekeeper to control access and open this gate. I could make it an electric gate, I guess, and they could just push a button and open it, but it's better to have a personal touch. And, as far as working with other people, there's a lot of people that want to go live in a forest, and I have things I need from people, very specific things. And so anybody who comes here, I want them to be fulfilling a role. I want them to help out with the creation and advancement and success of the place, which is tough to do. There's a lot of work to do. Way more work than can be done. But, because I'm like one person, I'm tired, I'm burned out. I don't like people that much anymore, which is a terrible attribute, but that's how it is. I'm pretty honest, so I just gotta get home now, and home is about 200 meters that way, so I'm almost there. thanks for coming along with me for this walk. I hope you like some of the ideas in the video. To give you some sense of my style, some of the topics I care about. Hopefully I'll be making videos that are very focused on very specific topics like seed collecting, app ideas, how to treat a forest well, how to diversify it, how to increase the amount of wildlife, how to have people in it without destroying it. Because I worry about, I've hosted a lot of people, like over 3,000, and some of those experiences have been bad. Most of them have been just fine, although I never charged much to come here for an amazing adventure, an educational adventure, and I'm going to change that. Anybody who comes here has to get funded somehow. This project has to get funded. My life has to be funded because what I'm doing is just too big. This forest is immense. And I have a really clear idea now about how to use different parts of the land well, what the ideal use of each part of it is, and how I can share it with other people in a win-win situation. That's the key. So I guess that's true for all of us in our relationships of any kind. We have to figure out how to have win-win relationships in our lives. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who are looking for win-lose, where they win and you lose. They love that. And I don't want those people here. I don't want to know them. I don't want any communication with them. Screw them. They're destroying the world. And even the good people often are destroying the world. It's almost impossible to put yourself in a position where you're not. It's very difficult. But I have very strong ethics. I have very strong opinions about what works and what doesn't. I do know what I'm doing quite well. And I now have to do it different ways than I've done it before. So I know this has been a long, rambly video. Thank you for hanging in there. If you like it, if you think what I'm doing is interesting, share it with your friends and say, hey, there's this crazy guy living out in the forest and he is confused and wondering what the hell to do. I'm not confused about what to do with the forest, but I am confused about my relationship with people. Like, I need to put a price on how much it costs to come here. And I have had people say, well, how much does it really cost to host me there? And it doesn't cost a lot. I mean, the food is simple, but somebody has to make it. I have a lot of invested, past investment, 20 years of it, and that has value. My knowledge has value. I have value as a human being. And so when travelers just want to come and they say, oh, I'll help you out. I'll help out with stuff. You need help. And it's like most of what they actually offer is costs for me, costs and risk. So they got to think a lot differently about that. And I do have an application form for visiting. I need to actually tighten that up and have a few of them maybe for different roles people are applying to come here as, whether it's a student or I could even make places where people can just relax in the forest. I could build that in part of it, but that's a very different role than somebody who's coming here to actually help out. And what I don't need, what people think I need, is like gardening help or something. And it's like, no, I'd rather pay local friends to do that and improve the local economy and have people from the industrial world who have plenty of wealth, right? Some of them are world travelers. And so some of them are just looking for a free place to live. And I'm not their hippie paradise, I'm not gonna support that anymore. I've done it enough. And it's a net loss for me, a big loss. And yeah. So what else? As I enter into my land, this road here is grown over completely. You can't even tell it's a road. There's an oak tree growing in the middle of it, So I couldn't even bring my vehicle through that. Nobody's vehicle should go through that, really. And so I need to bulldoze that to get a road from here to up there, to the upper part of the land. And that's another cost. There's big cost to just maintaining this place. I've got about 3 kilometers of fencing just around the outside, and I actually need to put in at minimum about 2 kilometers of interior fencing, because then I can have donkeys here, horses, ruminants, which would also help clear the land. because everything just grows over, you know, which is a good problem. It's great for the soil. But in order to succeed, I have to build walls, fences, and improve my plant reproduction area, which is absolutely awesome. I'll do a different video on a tour of that. I've got ideas for you. If you have land, I've got ideas for you. If you want to visit here, we'll have to get real specific about how and why. And I don't want to be the cheapest place to go, you know, and I don't want to have to babysit people for free. It's just, I'm burned out on that. I don't like people anymore because of that, and that's really just such a horrible, misanthropic way to view things. So, I'll see you later, and thanks again for coming on this walk. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. Alright, so I'm back home. I got home at about 11:30. So that was 7:45 to 11:30. I'll just call that, let's see, is it a 4-hour walk? Or 3 hours? Something like that. It was a long time, and I blame you because I was stopping to talk to the camera, but also my feet are killing me because my boots are not really the best boots. In fact, they're falling apart on the back of the boots. And so I need to buy footwear that's better. And I need to walk to town and get some better boots if they even have good boots in town. It's hard to get good stuff. And I need good stuff to survive well. Because, yeah, those boots are just fall apart. My Tevas, no, they're Chacos. They're not Tevas. They are worn out on the bottom. I've worn the sole out, and you know, in the last 20 years, I've gone through like, I don't know, 6-8 pairs of them at least. So I need to get a new pair of those as well. Oh, I'm tired, but it's good to be walking. And I like that Google Fit, the app, is tracking how far I go. It's kind of cool.